Hey folks, this is Kalani. This video is a boss guide for the Jailer encounter on Normal and Heroic, so we'll go through the best strategy for taking down the very last boss in the Sepulcher of the First One's raid. Before we jump in, be sure to hit up that like button and subscribe so you never miss another video. As you look around the encounter space, there are lots and lots of holes. Some of them will end up being blocked by pillars and some will close later on. If you fall down into these holes, you instantly die, so watch your step. When pillars come up through the hole, they will block line of sight, kind of annoying when they block you from DPSing, but it's going to be very important throughout the fight. The Jailer will periodically mark players with runes of damnation. They explode after 7 seconds, dealing damage to your entire raid and knocking them into the air. The trick here is to jump into one of these holes. The explosion doesn't hit the raid and you get knocked back up out of the hole. Just be careful, you get knocked back to where your back is facing, and it's very easy to go flying into another hole or even off the edge of the room, so make sure your back is pointing somewhere safe. The boss will also mark a whole bunch of players with circles that explode after a short delay. You need to spread out with this one. There's also a tank combo to watch out for called Martyrdom. This is a chain of 3 attacks. The first one applies a physical damage increase debuff to your tank, the second one applies a bleed to everyone in a large AoE, and the last one deals a massive amount of damage in the same area. That last one needs to be split between most of your raid. We had everyone pile in to split the damage. It's okay if you go in early and get the bleed debuff too, just make sure your healers keep you alive. The tanks need to swap every time this combo is used. The Jailer also periodically pulls everyone towards him, dealing damage over time, and he casts a big AoE with fall-off damage, so the further away you are from him, the less damage you're going to take. You need to run away to make sure you don't die. And then the most important ability in this phase is Relentless Domination. The Jailer will dominate anything within line of sight, so you need to run behind a pillar ASAP. If you don't block line of sight with a pillar, you get mind-controlled and you need to be killed. The Jailer will also dominate all currently active pillars. This forces them to retract back into the platform, and then that hole will close, so you will want to move around the room to make sure you have available holes for the bomb drop-offs and for new pillars to spawn for line of sight. When every pillar has been dominated and every hole closed, you transition into phase 2. 3 pillars will spawn at the edge of the room and they have big AoEs around them. Don't stand in it. The most important thing in this phase is the tank ability Shattering Blast. This is a big blue ring. You have to take this to one of the active pillars. This will destroy the pillar, which is incredibly important because the Jailer keeps spawning more and more pillars, and if they ever connect to the middle of the platform, you will enter phase 3. You want to delay that as much as possible, so you need to destroy the pylons with Shattering Blast and rotate around the room to keep each line of them short. During this phase, you get runes of compulsion. A few players are marked, and after a short delay, they get mind-controlled and try to walk off the edge of the platform. Marked players should run towards the middle of the platform, preferably into the melee DPS, and you need to break the mind controls by damaging the affected players. The boss also smashes the ground with a big blue swirl. Don't stand in the swirl, it deals a lot of damage and it also knocks you back, so stay away from the edge and away from holes. You will also get the circles from phase 1. You still need to spread out, but they also leave behind a swirl that also deals damage, so be sure to dodge that as well. Even if you don't miss a pillar with Shattering Blast, the Jailer will eventually create a link of 3 pillars to the middle of the room, which is going to start phase 3. At this point in the fight, you get a health bar for Azeroth at the top of your screen. That is your timer in this phase. If Azeroth gets to 10% health, you instantly wipe. The Jailer will use Desolation. He targets the middle of the room with a long line attack, which reduces Azeroth's health by up to 20%. You need to run into the line and soak that damage as a raid to reduce the damage Azeroth takes. Another nasty ability you need to watch out for is Defile. A small black puddle will spawn in the room, but it will rapidly grow if anyone stands in it, so you have to move out instantly and never stand in Defile, otherwise you will wipe your raid. He also marks a few players with Rune of Domination. This is a big blue AoE that applies a huge healing absorb on anyone who gets hit, but it's spread across all targets. So you actually want to stack these up on as many people as possible and heal the absorb off as quickly as you can. If you don't get rid of the absorb, the player becomes mind controlled and has to be killed. And his last new ability here is Chains of Anguish. The Jailer binds his current target to several other players. Those players take all damage that the tank takes, so you want to tank swap, and the chained players need to run spawn 30 yards away to break the chains. When a chain is broken, it deals raid-wide AoE damage, so you need to stagger the chain breaks so your healers have time to top everyone off. The boss is still going to use his big blue swirl smash, so don't get knocked into a bad spot, and you also still get the circles you need to spread out with that leave behind the swirls. In Heroic, there are a couple of changes. During phase 1, any pillars that are dominated also create an orb that launches towards random players, dealing damage to anyone gets hit, so just dodge the orbs. And then in the last phase, the Torment debuff, that's the circles you spread out for, they also spawn an ad that you have to nuke down ASAP. And that's all you should need to take down the Jailer on Normal and Heroic. If you have any leftover questions, pop them in the comments below and I'll help out as best I can. A big thank you to all of our supporters over on Patreon and to everyone who subscribed on Twitch. You can see their names floating by on screen. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you never miss another video. Thanks for watching, folks, good luck and have fun, and as always, I'll see you next time.